Okay, so we begin the book of Shmot. Very exciting. Oh, hello everyone.
Hi, Elliot. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Shana.
Elliot, you're muted.
Hi. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody?
We're good.
Excellent.
Little tired. Arya sprouted her first tooth today, so hopefully she'll sleep a little better at night. She's been up a lot.
Oh,
So,
What do they put? To have something you put on the gums. What is it called?
we just give her a little Tylenol at night, little baby Tylenol.
they
Give
used
her,
to have
give her
these.
a lot.
They also used to have these rings that you put in the freezer that they chewed on.
Yeah,
Do they still do that?
they sure do.
My youngest is 53. I don't know.
Okay, so let's learn some Torah. I apologize if I'm a little foggy, but we begin the book of Shmot. Just to recap briefly, we didn't see each other the last couple of weeks, but Yaakov and his whole family descend to Egypt. Of course, Yosef is already there, and we learn about the reunification of the brothers. And it seems to almost be a happy ever after situation. Yaakov dies, Yosef dies, and life goes on. Now some time passes, and we start a new chapter. Such is life. The pages turn, and you don't know what's coming up next. So we begin with Shmot. Ve'ela Shmot b'nei Yisrael habayim Mitzrayim et Yaakov ish ve'tovav, and these are the names of the sons of Israel that came to Egypt. With Yaakov, each person came with their household. So we have the tribes: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, and Binyamin, Dan, Venaftali, Gad, Ve'asher. They each came with their houses. Vayhi kol nefesh yotzei yerach Yaakov shivim nafesh, and all of the souls that sprouted from Yaakov were numbered 70 people, and Yosef was already there. Yosef was already in Mitzrayim. Vayamot Yosef v'chol echav v'chol hador ahu, and Yosef and all his brothers and the whole generation pass away. Uvenei Yisrael paru vayishretzu vayirbu vayatzmu bimeod meod vatimale haaretz otam, and the children of Israel, so the descendants of Yaakov, Yosef, v'chol echav, increased and multiplied and became great. Vayirbu, vayatzmu bimeod meod, and the land was filled. They filled the land. So I'm almost in the mood for matzah and maror, because of course a lot of this language comes from the Haggadah, or the Haggadah uses a lot of this language, and we will certainly see a lot of famous phrases and of course stories as we travel the book of Shmot. Maybe we should start drinking some wine also. Would not be a bad idea. Vayakam melech chadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. Very pivotal pasuk right here. A new king gets established in Egypt that did not know Yosef. So there's a very famous debate. Was it in fact a new king, or was it in fact the same king that chose to forget Yosef? And it's, to me, it's a case of, what have you done for me lately? Like, thank you, Yosef, for saving Egypt years ago. Of course, recalling Yosef's interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams: 7 great years, 7 lean years, and you should take advantage of the 7 great years and store the grain to shelter yourself against the famine. Yosef, of course, arose to be number 2 in all of Egypt, and now here we see the new king in town does not even remember Yosef. And Paro says to his nation, look at these Jews. Look at Bnei Yisrael. Rav v'atzum mimenu. They're bigger than us. Hava nitchakmalo. Let's deal with them. Let's deal with them wisely, right? We have chacham in here, right? Hava nitchakmalo. Pen yirbe v'haya ki tikrena milchama v'nasaf gam hu al sonenu v'nilcham banu v'ala min haaretz, so that God forbid they increase and declare war and join with our enemies. They can rise against us. And so, I'm sorry, Elliot?
History repeats itself. I mean, I heard the story before in 1938. Okay, I mean, the Jews are our enemies. Something goes wrong, they're going to be against us. And we got to get rid of them.
Right. Again on Pesach, he said, "B'chol dor v'dor omdim aleinu lechalotenu." Right. Every generation, someone seeks to destroy us. It's like enough already with that. Come on.
It's really, you know what? You're supposed to learn from history. But you know what? History doesn't end. I mean, of course it doesn't end, but people don't learn from it. People tend to forget the good and only remember the bad.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So what did they do? What did Paro do in his wise, he thinks that he's being so smart? Vayasimu alav sarei misim. He put over them task masters, who are also tax, right? Mas means tax. So tax officers. Leman anoto besivlotam. To make them work. Vayiven arei miskenot. And they built storage cities for Paro at Pitom vet Ramses. The 2 cities were called Pitom and Ramses, of course, Ramses. This is what the Sarei Misim were forcing the Jews to do. V'chasher yanu oto ken yirbe v'chen yifrotz. But the more that they were beaten down, the more they increased. And ufaratzta yama v'kerma yifrotz, they expanded. Vayakutsu mipnei bnei Israel, and the Egyptians really started to hate bnei Israel. Vayavidu mitzrayim bnei Israel befarech, and it got even worse. And now they started to really make them work befarech, ruthlessly. Vayimareru et chayehem ba'avoda kasha. They made their lives bitter with hard work. Bechomer uvilvenim, with bricks and mortar. Uvechol avoda basadeh, with work in the field. Et kol avodatam asher avdu bahem befarech, and with all sorts of work that they would really make extra hard. And in fact, I don't think it's Rashi, but there's a commentator, maybe it's Ramban, who says that it was not uncommon that they would give the work that was typically done for a male, they would give to the women, and the work that was typically done for a woman, they would give to the men, just to make it extra hard. So if the men were doing more manual slave labor, schlepping things in the field and, building with bricks, then they would give that to the women. And then, of course, beat everyone even more when they were unable to do it. And it doesn't stop there. It gets worse. Melech Mitzrayim says to the Jewish midwives, Asher Shema Echat Shifra. So we have two very almost mystical characters here, Shifra and Pua, two Hebrew midwives who Rashi says were actually Miriam and Yocheved, Moshe's mother and sister. Well, sister and mother, right? Miriam's the sister, Yocheved is the mother. And what does Paro tell them? When you birth Hebrews, uriten al ha'ovnaim, and you see. So this is a very interesting word, ovnaim. This is referring to the vessels that were used to literally catch the babies that were made from even, from like stone. When you see, essentially when you see the babies come out, im benhu vahamiten oto, if it's a boy, vahamiten oto, you have to kill it. Ve'im bathi vachaya, but if it's a girl, you can let her live.
Does it make sense that the midwives that he chose were Hebrews? I would think that he would be like Egyptian women. Okay,
well, you'll see that it doesn't work, and then he goes Egyptian, right? He's commanding the people that are helping Jewish women give birth. So to me, it says that Hebrew midwives were birthing Hebrew children, helping to birth Hebrew children. So that's who he went to. When it doesn't work, he then declares something else.
Oh, right. It goes here to Egyptian women later. Okay.
See, you're even smarter than Pharaoh, because you would have gone right to the Egyptians.
You can't get your own people to spy on you.
Right. Well, the Nazis did that too, Elliot. Papos, they put true. It's really twisted,
They did. That's right. Oh, okay.
So, but here we go. 17. But the midwives see Elohim. They see God. They didn't do what the king of Egypt told them to do. They let the children live. But now what happens? Melech Mitzrayim calls them over, and he says to them, Madua asiten hadavar hazeh v'techayena hayaladim. Why did you do this thing and let the children live? Let the boys live. And the Miyaldot answer, Ki lo chanashim hamitzriyot ha'ivriot. The women here are not like Egyptian women. Ki chayot hena b'terem tavo alehen hamiyaledet v'yaladu. They already give birth before we even get there. Almost a dig, almost like these Hebrew women are tough, not like Egyptian women, right? And they actually do it themselves, and by the time we get there, it's too late. Vayetev Elohim lamiyaldot vayirev ha'am vayatzmu me'od. And this was good. Hashem did good. Hashem sort of rewarded the midwives, and the nation multiplied even more. And vayihi ki yaru hamiyadot et Elohim vayash lahem batim. And when the midwives saw Hashem, so this is what the reward is, vayash lahem batim. Hashem made batim, houses for them. And this is in reference to the kehuna. We know that Levi's and Kohens come from Miriam, come from Yocheved. Moshe and Aaron become the first Levi and the first Kohen. And so Rashi tells us that this was the reward. Because Miriam and Yocheved did this, they had the schut, they had the merit to be the mothers of the kehuna. And that's what the Torah means by batim. And now Paro commands the whole nation. Kol haben hayilod hayeora tashlichu. Every boy that is born to the Yeor, to the Nile, you must throw it. V'chol habat techayun, but every daughter can live. And that ends the first parak. Paro was no dummy. Okay, Paro was surrounded by mystics, and he knew Jewish history. He knew what was buzzing around town, and his astrologers told him that there was going to be a deliverer. And in fact, this was the day Moshe was born, because the astrologer said the Hebrew deliverer is going to be born today, and that's when Paro decreed it. Vayelech ish mi bet Levi vayikach et bat Levi. A man goes from Beit Levi and took a daughter of Levi, so married within his tribe. Vatar Aisha vateled ben, and this woman got pregnant and had a son. And vatere oto kitofu, when they saw how great he was, vatitzpenehu shlosha yerachim, she hid him for 3 months. So this is talking about Amram and Yocheved, and of course the baby is a character we all know by the name of Moses. And so what's the deal? Why did she have to hide him for 3 months? Hashem performed a miracle, and she actually gave birth after 6 months to a healthy, full-term baby. So says Rashi. And the Egyptians knew that she was pregnant and came to check on her after 9 months. So she had 3 months with the baby that she was able to hide him. But now she's not able to hide him anymore. And so what does she do? She takes a tevat gome. She takes a basket, a wicker basket, v'tachmera b'chemar u'vazafet, and she covers it, or she works on it with chemar, is some kind of what's the word? Some kind of
resin.
Yeah.
Pitch.
Yeah, resin. It's like it's like
Or,
malleable. It's not like it like doesn't harden. It's like muddy. It's like more
silicone.
Batasemba and the zafed, which is more hard, was on the outside, and the chema was on the inside of the teva. Batasemba tayel, and she puts her son in, and she puts it in the reeds, basuf, right? Like Yam Suf is called the Sea of Reeds. She puts it in the reeds on the Sfat HaYeor, on the opening, the mouth opening of the Nile.
I have a translation that says bitumen and pitch.
Okay, I'm not sure what either of those things are.
Okay, pitch is what you put on the roof.
Okay.
When it dries like an elastic.
Yeah.
And bitumen is like oil, thick oil.
Okay, nice. And I'm assuming that it floats.
Yes, it's waterproof. It's waterproof.
Right.
So that's so the wicker basket can float, and it's keeping the water from penetrating the wicker basket.
Great.
That's,
And the sister, Vatetatzavach oto merachok, and his sister plants herself at a distance to know what would happen to the baby. What a beautiful older sister watching after her brother. And Paro's daughter comes down to bathe at the Yaor, and her naroteha, her entourage, comes down with her, and they see the teva in the reeds. Vatishlach, and she sends her servant to go get it. Vatiftach vatireu et hayeled, and they open it and they see the boy. Vehine na'ar boche, and here he is, a young boy crying. Vatachmol alav, she has rachmanis, she has pity on him. Vatomer mialdei ha'ivrim zeh, this is obviously a Hebrew child. And the sister says to Bat Paro, Ha'elech v'karati lach isha meineket min ha'ivriot. Should I go get a nurse so they could nurse this child from the Hebrews, and this woman, can nurse the boy? Bat Paro seems to think that's an excellent idea. Bat Paro says, Lechi, go. Vatelech ha'alma vatikra et em hayeled, and the girl goes and gets the boy's mother. Vatomer la bat paro helichi et hayeled hazeh. Bat paro tells the mother, we assume right now that she's talking to the mother, take this boy and nurse him, vani eten et tzcharech, and I will pay you a wage.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So in verse 6, when they opened up the basket, she said, this is one of the children of the Hebrews. So I'm wondering, if she knew that, then why did she still go through all the effort to take it and get a nursemaid? If she knew that Pharaoh wanted to kill all the sons, why did she keep the boy?
Right before it says, Vatachmol alav, that she took pity.
Yeah, but still, wouldn't she have, I mean, she's the daughter of the Pharaoh, so isn't she kind of going against her father, what he said, to kill all the boys?
100%. I guess children don't always listen to their parents.
Yeah. She wasn't afraid of getting into trouble, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, who else besides Paro's daughter could, betray him without, penalty of death, probably, you know? I'm actually, I was thinking it's a miracle when the midwives don't listen to him, and he's like, "Why didn't you listen to me?" You would think that he'd have killed them, But yeah, clearly she had a lot of pity on this abandoned baby, and had a big heart and was a human being and saw this boy as a human being and not as something else.
So Pharaoh wasn't so smart after all. He did not know how to deal with the midwives. He didn't know how to deal with his daughter. Aha, not such a chacham after all. Boy, Shakop.
Elliot, I'm sure there were times that your daughters didn't listen to you either.
Can't be.
No.
Can't be.
So not only does Moshe's mother get him back and nurse him, but she makes a little bit of money. Vatikach Haisha, and she takes the boy and nurses him. Vayigdal Hayeled. So now some time passes. Moshe grows up a little bit, and she brings him to Bat Paro. So I guess this was a thing. Like, take the boy, nurse him, raise him up a little bit, and then bring him to me. Interesting. And she brings him to Bat Paro. Vayhi la leven. Bat Paro adopts him. Vatikra Shemo Moshe, and calls him Moshe. Why? Ki min hamayim mishituhu, because I drew him from the water. Some more time passes. Vayigdal Moshe vayetze elechav. So Moshe, I guess, knows that he's from the Hebrews, because he realizes that he's going out to his brothers. And what does he see? Vayar besivlotam. He sees them suffering. Vayar ish mitzri makeh ish ivri me'echav. And he sees an Egyptian hitting one of his Hebrew brothers. Vayifen ko vacho. And he looks this way and that way. Vayar ki ein ish. And he sees that there's no one around. Vayach et hamitzri vayitmenehu bachol, and he strikes down the Egyptian and hides him in the dirt, in the sand.
If I may, there's nowhere that it says that he knew he was a Hebrew. It just all of a sudden, okay, maybe he was a person who was compassionate and kind, and he saw somebody, the taskmasters hitting this Hebrew, but nowhere does it say he knows that he's Hebrew, because I'm sure his mother, Pharaoh's daughter, would not tell him.
I would think the same thing, but it says right here in Pasuk 11, Vayetze elechav. He goes out to his brothers. He's calling the Hebrews one of his brothers.
And Moses is an Egyptian name.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a space between. It's missing.
Could it have something to do with the fact that he was probably, I would assume he was circumcised. If she had him Yocheved had him for 3 months, they would have circumcised him. So wouldn't he have known that he was different from the rest of the Egyptians?
I guess. Yeah.
There's some gaps.
Yeah. There's always questions.
I'm sure the Midrash has something to say about that, but we'll continue.
So this always, Vayifen Kovacho, always struck me, that this is like, it seems, not so kosher. First of all, according to Jewish law, it says the Egyptian is hitting a Hebrew. It, doesn't say that he's going to kill him. And Moshe looks to make sure no one's looking. It seems kind of sneaky. And he commits murder. It's, and then he covers it up. It's very, very interesting. And then what happens in 13? And he comes out the next day. There's 2 Hebrew people arguing. And he says to the Rasha, I guess it was clear that one was more wicked. Why are you hitting your friend, right? Re'echa. Vayomer, and he answers him, Misamcha leish sar v'shofet alenu. Who made you a big man and an officer and a judge over us? Hal hargeni ata omer kasher haragta et hamitzri? Vayira Moshe, did you mean what you said when you killed the Egyptian? Hal hargeni Do you mean are you going to kill me just like you killed the Egyptian? Vayira Moshe. Moshe becomes afraid. Vayomar, and he says, Achen noda hadavar. The davar, the thing that I did yesterday is known. You know, he becomes afraid. People know that I killed someone. And Paro hears what happened. Vayivakesh laharog et Moshe. And he asks that Moshe be killed. Vayivrach Moshe mipnei Paro. Moshe runs away. Vayeshev be'eretz Midian. And he goes to the land of Midian. Vayeshev al habe'er. And he comes to the well. Right? Just like we see many times before. When you come to town, where do you go? You go to the well. It's where all the action is.
Where is Midian? Because I was trying to find that out, and I came across two different places, like one in the Sinai Peninsula and the other one in Saudi Arabia, and I don't know where it is.
Okay, I have this commentary that says the geographical location of this land is different. Okay, this land in different biblical references does not seem entirely fixed, perhaps because the Midianites were semi-nomads.
Ah, interesting.
Okay, Moses' country of refuge would appear to be a semi-desert region bordering Egypt on the east, to the west by the northwest by the present-day Eilat.
Ah.
That's one commentary here, number 15. Yeah, that's it. Because the Midianites were semi-nomads and they kept moving from place to place, I guess, depending on where the grass was good for their flock.
Right now, that's exactly probably right.
It's still quite a long distance for him to run. I mean, whether it's on the east side or the west side of the, the Gulf of Aqaba? Like either way, that's still quite a ways from Egypt.
I would think it would take several days. I mean, we're told that when he's returning to Egypt, that he stops at a malon, at a hotel. You know, so it's clear that that it's far enough to be away from Paro's reach. First of all, so just think about it in that way. Paro, you assume Mitzrayim and Paro's land was huge, you know, and just to get out of Paro's jurisdiction, I would think, you know. So I'm sure it was a huge trip.
Okay.
It comes to the well.
Another gap.
Ulechohen Midian Sheva Banot, and then the Torah tells us that for the high priest of Midian had 7 daughters. Vatavona, Vatidlena, Vatmalena, Et Haratim Lehashkot Tzon Avihen, and they were coming to give water to their father's flock. And what happens? Vayavo aroim vayigarshum, and some shepherds come and chase them off. But here comes our chivalrous Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayakom Moshe vayoshian vayashk et sonam, and Moshe saves them and gives them to drink, gives the flock to drink. And they come to Reuel, their father. Of course, Reuel is Yitro. And say to him, and he says, Madua mihartem bo hayom? Why are you guys home so early? Right? Clearly, Moshe saved them some time. Vatomarna ish mitzri hitzilanu miyad haroim. An Egyptian man saved us from the shepherds. V'gam dalo dala lanu vayashk et hatzon. And he even drew the water for us and gave our cattle to drink. And Yitro asks his daughter, Ve'ayo, where is he? Lama ze'azavten et ha'ish. Why did you leave him? Kren lo vayochal lachem. Call him over and he can eat some bread. Vayoel Moshe lashevet et ha'ish. Moshe agrees to stay with Yitro. Vayiten et Tzipora bito leMoshe, and Yitro gives Tzipora, his daughter, as a wife to Moshe Rabbeinu. Siman Tov Mazel Tov, they have a boy, and call him Gershom, because Ger Ha'iti be'eretz Nochriya. I was a foreigner in a strange land. I was a stranger in a foreign land. Vayihi bayamim harabim hahem. So now some serious time has passed. Vayamot melech Mitzrayim. Melech Mitzrayim dies. Vayeyanchu bnei Israel. Bnei Israel is moaning. Min havodah, from the work. Vayizaku, they're screaming out. Vata'al shavatam El ha'Elohim min avodah. They're screaming out to Hashem for salvation from the work. And Hashem hears et nakatam, their moaning. Vayiskor Elohim et brito et Avraham et Yitzchak ve'et Yaakov. And Hashem remembers the covenant that was made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Vayar Elohim et bnei Yisrael vayeda Elohim, and God sees them and knows them. And Moshe continues to work for his father-in-law. Vayinhag et hatzon achar hamidbar, vayavo el har Elohim choreva.
Excuse me, why did they call him Ruel just before in number 18 or 17? They watered and they came to Ruel, their father, and now they say the father's name is Yetro.
Yeah, he has a few names.
He has a few names.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he actually has 7 names. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones.
One for each of his daughters.
Perhaps. Yeah, I'm not sure. And then like later in the Torah, he's called other things as well.
I only remember Yetro. As a matter of fact, it's one of the Parshat.
Yeah.
Parsha, Yetro.
Yeah.
So I just noticed that they call him Ruel. Okay.
Maybe
number 17. And they came to Ruel, their father. Number 18? Yes, number 18.
Chapter 2:18.
Oh, you're gonna see what? Okay.
No, there's no.
Number 18. Let's see.
Let's see why.
Okay, see, okay, here's a commentary by Dennis Prager. Elsewhere in the Torah, this man is called Yetro, and on one occasion Yether,
Yeter, right?
and on another occasion Hobab.
Yeah.
And he's also known. He was known by each of these names. Okay, so how many? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 names here.
4 names.
Interesting. I didn't pick it up until now.
Could it have something to do with the fact that he's the chief or the head guy of Midian? So maybe some of those names could be like a title or referring to something else, like some honorary names or something like that.
Very possible. Quite possible. I mean, it's not uncommon that people in the Torah have multiple names. Certainly, it's not uncommon today also. I know that when Hashem's called by different names, it's symbolizing different attributes of Hashem. Like we say, Elohim is the God of judgment, and Adonai is the God of so and so, and sort of different different emotions, behaviors, sort of fit with the name. So I'm wondering if he's Reuel, if that's maybe more of a formal one, and once Moshe is part of the family, and he's his father-in-law. Now he's called Yitro. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. And so some more time passes, and Moses is tending to the flock, and he takes the flock to Har Elohim Choreva, to Mount Chorev. Of course, now called Har Elohim because of what's about to happen. Vayera malach Adonai elav belabat esh mitoch hasneh. And an angel of Hashem appears in the heart of the fire, lev esh, right in the heart of the fire, mitoch hasneh, from coming out of the sneh of the bush. Vayar vehine hasneh boer ba'esh, and Moshe sees, and he sees the sneh burning with fire. V'hasneh einenu ukal, but the bush is not being eaten, right? Consumed by the fire. And Moshe says, Asura na, let me go sort of to the side. Ve'ere tamare hagadol hazeh, and I'm gonna have a look at this big site. Madua lo yivara sneh, why isn't the sneh being consumed? Vayar Adonai kisar lirot, but when Hashem sees that Moshe went to the side, Vaikra elav, he calls him from within the sneh, and he says, Moshe, Moshe, and Moshe answers, Hineni. Vayomer, Hashem says, Al tikrav halom, don't come any closer. Shal na'alecha mi'araglecha, take off your shoes. Ki hamakom asher ata omed alav admat kodesh hu, because the ground on which you're standing is holy ground. And Hashem continues, Anochi Elohei avicha, I am the God of your fathers, Elohei Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. And Moshe turns away his face because he was afraid, mehabit el ha'Elohim, of looking at God. And Hashem keeps on talking. Ra'o ra'iti et oni ami asher b'Mitzrayim, I have seen oni, the poverty, but really the affliction, the suffering of my nation that's in Egypt, and I hear their screams, mipnei nogshav, because of the people that are over them, ki yadati et machovav, and I know their pains.
For 400 years they're in Egypt. For 400 years, they suffered.
Yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden, God saw them, and God heard, and God remembered, and now he had compassion. What happened to the other 399 years?
Right. So actually, commentators say that even though the prophecy is 400 years, the prophecy didn't include suffering. It was from the time that Yaakov went down to Egypt, and there were some good years. I had this number 210 years of sort of like bad years, you know.
But we
But
have to suffer first before we're redeemed. Is that it?
that's so you're saying that it's a long time.
I think it's a lot. It's many generations.
Yeah.
Another gap.
Well, yeah, you know, the gap of time. I mean, time. You know, the gap is always time, right? Time is very fluid and very I think very misunderstood in that we really don't understand the concept of time in the Torah right to the beginning of the book, right from, you know, Bereshit on, right, where it says Yom Echad, like we have no idea what Yom Echad means. Where we have scientists, and this is why I feel, anyways, that it's such a futile argument to have those arguments, science versus Torah. That how can you say that the world was created in 7 days, and how come the Jewish calendar is only 5,700, you know, like, you know, barely 5,800 years, when we have fossils that are millions of years old and blah blah blah. You know, and to me, Yom Echad is not the day that we know. It's not, you know, 24. It's not a, you know, Saturday, you know, Sunday through to Friday job. Like, who knows what an actual cycle was then, and who knows what the Torah is actually calling a cycle. So time isn't the same, you know, when we know that Noach lived over 700 years, it's not the 700 years that we know, or I don't think this, like, this is my own personal opinion here, obviously, you know. I don't think Noach lived 700 years old the way that I compute a year. So time is, you know, this it's just different time. But I have a feeling Noach lived a very, very long life. And the Torah says, and the Torah uses years, you know, but I don't think it's the same years as we, you know, tabulate a year. But I digress. Hashem comes down, right? Comes down from the mountain. I am va'ered lahatzilo, and I'm going to come down to save them from the Mitzrim. Uleha'aloto min haaretz, and to bring them up, right? To literally to make aliyah. El eretz tova, to a good land, urchava el eretz zavat chalav udvash, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Knaanim, the Chitim, Ha'emorim, Ha'prizim, V'achivim, V'ayivusim. And now, Hine tzakat b'nei Yisrael ba elai. The screams of b'nei Yisrael come to me. And I've also seen the lachatz, the suffering, asher Mitzrayim lochatzim otam, that the Egyptians are making them suffer. And now, ve'ata, pasuk 10, lecha va'eshlechacha el paro. I'm going to send you, you will go, and I'm going to send you to Paro. Ve'hotzei et ami b'nei Yisrael mitzrayim, and you're going to let the people go. Ve'hotzei, you will bring them out of Mitzrayim. And Moshe responds, Mi anochi ki elech el Paro. Who am I that should go to Paro, v'chi otzi et bnei Yisrael mitzrayim, and to bring out Bnei Israel from Egypt, right? Moshe doesn't really, he's not so into this idea, right? Mi anochi, God, I think you have the wrong guy here. I'm a peasant, ro'eh, a herder, and I'm happy here with my wife and her father-in-law, and I have a good life here. Mi anochi, to go speak to Paro. And Hashem says, Ki eye imach, I am going to be with you. V'zeh lecha ha'ot ki anochi shlaticha. This is going to be the sign that I am sending you. Beotziacha et ha'am mitzrayim te'avdun et ha'elohim al ha'harazeh. And you're going to take your nation out of Egypt to come worship me at this mountain, right? A foreshadowing of what will come in a few months' time. Vayomer Moshe el Elohim. Moshe answers back, Hine anochi bal b'nei Yisrael amarti lahem. When I come, or if I come to Bnei Yisrael and say to them, Elohei avotechem shlachani alechem, the God of your forefathers sent me to you. Ve'amru li ma shemo, and they ask me, what's his name? Ma'omar alehem. What am I going to say to them? Right? Not a bad question. Guys, here I am. Your God sent me to save you. Oh, yeah? What's his name? This is a funny one.
The name, Hashem.
Hashem, that's it. Vayomer Elohim el Moshe. This is like a real dialogue going on here. Vayomer Elohim el Moshe, eheye asher eheye. One of the most famous quotes from the Torah and from the movie. I am what I am, right? Eheye asher eheye. Vayomer ki tomar livnei Israel eheye. Shlachani alechem. So Hashem's calling himself Eheyeh. You say to Bnei Israel, Eheyeh sent you. Hashem continues, speaking to Moshe, Ko tomar al Bnei Israel. This is what you're going to say to Bnei Israel. The God of your forefathers, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Shlachani alechem, has sent me to you. Ze shmi leolam. This is my name forever. V'ze zichri ledor dor. And this is my remembrance from generation to generation. Hashem continues speaking now to Moshe. Lech ve'asafta et ziknei Yisrael. Go get the elders of Israel and say to them, Adonai Elohei avotechem nira elai. God appeared to me, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, to say, Pakod pakadeti etchem. I have taken note of you. And what they're doing to you in Egypt. Va'omar, and I say, Ale etchem me'oni Mitzrayim. I will raise you out of Oni Mitzrayim, the poverty of Egypt, to the land of the Canaanites and the Chittim and Amorim, Aprizim, Achivim, Vayivusim, to the land flowing milk and honey. V'shamu lekolecha. They will listen to you. Elia, question? Sorry?
It seems to me, with this dialogue, that God and Moses are talking face to face.
Yeah.
But they're not. Because remember, before the burning bush, it said
Yes, Moshe
that
turns away his face.
took his head away.
That's right.
Okay, so it seems like nobody can see God, not even Moses. And the only thing Moses saw was the burning bush. Okay, and now God is like behind something, and Moses and they have a dialogue. I know they're not on Zoom, they have a dialogue. And yet, the last book that we did, okay, almost everybody was able to see God, but didn't know it was God.
Right.
Okay, so all now in this, we're starting now. Nobody's allowed to look at God. Nobody's allowed to see Him with their own eyes. What a change. Okay, well, look, the Raiders of the Last Ark, when somebody laid their eyes on what they thought was God or the Ark, right? Remember, the eyes got sucked out.
Sure.
Anyway, I just noticed it now. They're talking about it, but nobody saw him, and yet it looks like they're talking face to face, but they're not. Interesting. Okay.
We know that Moshe and God do speak face to face because we actually saw it a few months ago when in the Parsha in Bamidbar, when Miriam and Aharon sort of speak ill about Moshe and specifically Tzipporah, and they get punished with leprosy. Hashem actually says there, who do you guys think you are? You think you're prophets, Miriam and Aharon, but only Moshe speaks to me face to face. And God says, panim, right? Moshe avdi diber elai panim el panim. So Moshe here turns away his face, but it seems even God says that Moshe and God speak face to face.
Okay, well, when he came down from the mountain holding the 10 Commandments, wasn't his face all red and like consumed?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Charlton Heston did it really well.
You saw the movie.
Of course. It's a classic.
Yeah.
Let's do a few more. And don't worry, right? It's clear Moshe's worried. Who am I to go to Paro? They're not going to listen to me. They're going to ask me what's his name? What's his name? And Hashem's trying to reassure Moshe here. V'shamu lekolecha, they'll listen to you. Uvata ata v'ziknei Yisrael, and you and the elders of Israel will go to Melech Mitzrayim, and you're going to say to him, the God of the Hebrews called us, and now nilcha na derech shloshet yamim bamidbar v'nizbecha l'Adonai Eloheinu, and let us go a journey of 3 days in the desert, that we may do a mizbeach, build an altar, basically worship for Hashem, our God. But I know that Melech Mitzrayim is not going to let you go. Velo beyad chazaka, even not with a mighty hand. V'shalachti et yadi v'hiketi et Mitzrayim bechol nifleotai. I'm going to send my hand and I'm going to hit Egypt with all wonders Asher eseh bekirbo, that I will do on their bodies, literally bekirbo, within them. V'acharei chen yishalach etchem, and after this he will send you. Obviously this is a reference to Makat Bechorot, right? And it's a foreshadow. It says v'hiketi kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim, right? ונתתי אתכן העם הזה בעיני מצרים, והיה כי תלכון לא תלכו ריקם, and I will give the chen, the grace of this nation to the eyes of Egypt. I'm doing my best to be literal. V'haya, and it will be that when you leave, you're not going to leave empty-handed. And I will dispose the Egyptians favorably toward this people, right? Egypt, in the end, they give, right? V'yotzenu b'rechush gadol. We left with a great wealth. V'shala isha mishchenta umigarat beita klei chesef uchlei zahav usmalot v'samtem al bneichem ve'al bnotechem v'nitzaltem et Mitzrayim. Every woman is gonna request from her neighbor, umigarat beita, and people, literally strangers in her house. I guess that means boarders. Chlei chesef, vessels of silver and gold, and clothing that you can put on your children, on your sons and on your daughters. V'nitzaltem et Mitzrayim, saving Egypt, right? Egypt is going to be so happy to get rid of you that they're going to literally give you the shirt off their backs. Let's stop here. But we know the story, right? Moshe continues to not want to go. He says he's afraid. The next excuse he says is ani chvad peh uchvad lashon, I don't speak well. And of course Paro appoints Aharon, his brother, to be the spokesperson. And I believe, I don't remember offhand, but do we have a plague in this Parsha? I don't think so. They come to Paro.
Isn't Moshe wanted for murder? I mean, that never comes up. Like, wouldn't he be afraid to go back to Egypt? Because, I mean, he killed, Paro wants to kill him. Yeah. And he was growing up in the house of Paro, so it's not like people don't know who he is. He did grow up as a royal. Right. So when he says, "Who am I? I'm nothing," I mean, he's not nothing. He's a royal and he's wanted for murder, but that never comes up.
No, I don't think that ever comes up. Yeah, Moshe is saying, "Mi ani haolech lefaro." I mean, I'm a fugitive. I'm like the last person that should be going back to Egypt. But he goes. And then he continues to sort of dodge Hashem's request. And actually Hashem gets angry. It says Vayichar. Hashem gets angry with Moshe. And basically forces him to do it. And then of course Moshe goes down with Aharon and the staff, and we all know what happens with the staff. One of the signs that Moshe speaks for Hashem is he throws his staff down, the mateh, and the staff turns into a snake. And Paro says, "Oh yeah, I have some magicians too." And he calls his chartumim, they're called in the Torah, his magicians and sorcerers, and they come and they do the same thing. And then, of course, what happens? Moshe's snake eats the other snakes. And I believe the Parsha ends off on Moshe says the famous words, "Let my people go." Paro says, "No way, Jose." And he increases the burden and makes life even more miserable, which prompts Moshe to come back to Hashem and say, "What did you make me do? Not only did they not come out of Egypt, but now they hate me even more. Life is even worse." And I think that's where this week's Parsha ends.